Hi, everybody. I'm letting people in. Just let me know that you guys can hear me. At some point, somebody let me know that you guys are there. Jones, hello.
Hi, Patty. I'm here.
Hi, thank you. How are you, Rachel?
Late. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's hot where I am today.
Here too. How was the fishing?
How is fishing always for me? So
Right. Did you catch a lot of fishes or no?
I caught two white sea bass and two halibut. More fish
Oh,
than
wow.
I could hold up.
That's great. Oh, my nephew just won. He caught a lot of tuna.
Yeah, I don't fish for tuna. It's a little too it takes more strength than I have.
No, that's fine too, but I'm just saying he goes fishing like you do.
I think if I hooked up on a tuna, I'd be crying for somebody to help me. It'd probably pull me over the boat.
No, you're strong enough. You know,
Probably
what
taller than you, though.
They are most of them are taller than me. And
it doesn't matter the tallness. The main thing is you're strong. That's what it's important.
I don't know if you guys saw the picture of me holding up the two halibut I caught. I'm not holding those. I couldn't. The guy behind me is holding them up because I couldn't hold them. I know that's not saying a lot because they probably each weigh like 30 pounds or something, but at the end of a long day of fishing, I'm not holding up two halibut. It is not happening. But there is a picture of me floating out around there somewhere.
Patty, my question is to you. I sent a 24-hour notice to my tenant, and my what do you call it? The handyman said that he cannot make it from 8 to 5. He can make it today after 5. So do I have to give my tenant another notice or just change the time?
You can only legally enter Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay.
So
no, it's outside. It's not
handyman,
inside the house.
hold on. It's
ahead.
not inside the house?
No, it's outside.
So I would just let her know as a courtesy that the handyman will be coming by between the hours of 5 and 7 tonight. He doesn't need to come in your unit.
Oh, she knows. I give her a notice that it will be just maintained outside, not inside, but just to give her change of time, right?
Let me say this, Rachel.
Go
The
ahead.
only time you need to serve a notice is if you need to go in.
Oh, okay.
I just let them know as a courtesy, I'll be outside of the property changing the hose bib or whatever the problem is, but I don't need to come in your unit.
Oh, okay. I'll just do that. Thank you.
Patty, if you get approval from the tenant that they can come in on the weekends or at night, that's okay, right?
Yes, because you mutually agreed.
Okay.
Where it becomes a problem for you is when you go to the property and the tenant says, oh, you can't come in. Okay, no problem. Then you need to know that you need to come back Monday through Friday between 8 and 5 or 8 and 6 non-holiday.
So what do you do about the 24-hour notice? Do you put what date or what do you put in there then?
What do you mean? Ask me a different way because you
Sure.
lost me.
Okay. So if your worker is coming on Saturday to do the work.
Are they coming in the unit?
Yes, but you've notified the tenant has agreed.
There it is right there. You mutually agreed. If you mutually agree, you don't need a notice.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And let me explain why.
So just document it in the record.
Is that you went in that day. You don't have to have a 24-hour notice every time you go in if they mutually agree. I mean, I've been at a property before for a neighboring unit, and they've said, hey, Patty, come here for a second. We want to show you something. We just remembered. Okay, so now I'm in their house. They invited me. We mutually agreed. This isn't a 24-hour notice situation. Make sense?
Got it. Thank you.
No problem. And there is one other time, because I know Chris is on here and he'll yell at me. How do you got to tell him? There is one specific time that a 24-hour notice to enter is not required by law. and it's when you have an emergency. So an emergency would be fire, flood, so running water, fire, gas leak, things like that, okay? It's not an emergency if the tenant didn't pay their rent. Just saying. Maybe an emergency for us, but it's not an emergency in the eyes of the court, okay? All right, let's see what else we got going on. Hi, Allie. Hi, Belsie, my world traveler. We have a property in Menifee where the tenant recently passed away. I'm sorry. One of the sons has been handling the return of the property to us. The rent was paid in full and there were only minimal damages. Can we return the security deposit to the son we've been in communication with? No, you may not. There is a specific process you need to follow in this situation. Okay, you can mail it to the son's address, but remember, you don't have a legal or contractual agreement with the son necessarily. So you want to write the check out to the estate of and the deceased person's name.
Oh, so the state of the tenant's name.
To the estate, E-S-T-A-T-E, estate.
Okay.
To the estate of and the tenant's name. That way, if the son is in charge of all the finances and everything else, then he should be able to deposit that in dad's account and work through going through probate or the will or the family trust or whatever it is that they have set up in place. But you want to refund that check back to the tenant that rented from you. So you do it to the estate of and their name. Okay?
Okay, got it. Thank you very much, Patty.
No problem. Don't write that check to the son. And if he says that he can't cash it, tell him you're sorry. The law says that you must return the deposit to who gave it to you. With that being said, he should try to deposit it into an ATM. Because I'll tell you this, the ATM has never yelled at me, corrected me, told me I couldn't make this deposit. Okay?
All right.
ATM doesn't yell at you and tell you, no, you need 3 forms of ID. The ATM don't do that.
Exactly. All right.
So whenever a tenant has a problem cashing a check with a security deposit, it's usually because you made it out to 3 tenants or 2 tenants and mailed it to 1 tenant. And that 1 tenant is arguing, I can't cash it because it has everybody else's name on it. You, by law, have to put everybody's name that was a tenant of yours. Not the residents. You don't have to name minors, but you have to name the adults. So I always tell them, oh, you're having trouble with your bank? Go deposit at the ATM. They never argue with me. It's how we protect you, landlord, of making sure you're writing the check out to the right people. If they can't cash it, that's a them problem, not a you problem. Okay? Direct
Patty,
them to the ATM. Yes.
you said you can mail it to the son, though? I would think you wouldn't be able to mail it to the son.
Where are you going to mail it?
I don't know. I didn't know if you have to wait until the paperwork comes back. Because what if then another little sibling arrives and says, oh, no, you were supposed to mail it to my address, not, I don't know.
You sent it to the estate of, and that is your legal responsibility.
Can't you send it to the original address and then whoever gets the mail?
To the estate of at the
Right.
original address. You can even do that.
Oh, yeah. Original address. That's a good idea.
Okay,
Okay,
if they put in a forwarding address for that deaf person's name, it's going to forward the mail to wherever they told it to. Don't overthink it, okay? The biggest thing you need to do is make sure that the check is made out to the estate of. April, if you're in here today, I need your help with a Section 8 problem, okay? If you're not in here, I'm going to call you later, just so you know. Does anyone have a cleaning service recommendation? I called Molly Maid for a quote. Curious if there's other ones anyone likes to use. Sydney, do me a favor and tell me for what area, what city. Because I could tell you right now who to use in Victorville, but that isn't going to help you in Santa Clarita. You know what I mean?
Sorry, yes, I'm on mute. It's LA, Ladera Heights, LA County, near Westchester, near Marina Del Rey, and that part of
Okay,
town.
so if anybody knows of a cleaning in
Near
LA,
Inglewood. Yeah.
there you go. Anybody knows of a cleaning lady in that area, please help us out and put that in the chat. Also try Agla, because that's their neck
Okay,
of the,
great.
Put a
that's
couple
their
in.
neck of the woods. Arlene, what do you got?
I'll put a couple in. One of them, he's not inexpensive, but I had a problem and they damaged my floor and
Okay.
it just had it done and they didn't put, it dripped from the cleaning thing, but he paid for the repair and everything and came out and followed through. So to me, that says, they're honorable. And so,
Mhm.
I thought that they were expensive, but they send a bunch of people. They send like 3 or 4 people so they can get it done. They were really, they cleaned really well. So I will send
Okay.
their information in the chat, and I'm having mine done with somebody else next week, but I think they have limited availability. But they're going to charge $400 to do a 1,100 square foot 1 bedroom with carpet cleaning. So I didn't think that was too bad. So
Yeah.
so I'll
Okay, great.
I'll give you both names and you can use.
Thank you.
And there's stuff coming in right now. Melanie's got one in there for LA area. So thank you, team. You guys are awesome. Belsi, in San Juan Capistrano, hold on a second, because in my head, San Juan Capistrano is either San Diego or Orange County.
I believe it's Orange County.
Thank you. I'm picturing driving there in my head is where I went. Okay, so let's go with Orange County because that works for me. The owner signed a lease agreement and collected the security deposit. However, due to personal reasons, the owner is no longer able to rent out the property and wishes to cancel the agreement and return the security deposit. When is the lease supposed to start?
July 1st.
Okay, so I would tell them that you need to cancel, you're refunding all their money, and you're so sorry. The owner is having to move into their property or whatever the issue is. I always say the owner had a surprise personal matter, and unfortunately, they need to move back into their unit until they figure out their personal matter.
Okay.
So I make it sound like the owner's getting a divorce. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Because that could happen very quickly if someone wasn't being honest with their partner and they were cheating and the wife found out. You may need to move back in really quickly, right?
Mhm.
So I always use divorce as an excuse because we never see something like that coming. So how could we warn them? Does
Okay.
that
What
make
happens
sense?
if the tenants are moving in August 1st?
Refund their money.
Doesn't matter. Okay. It doesn't matter when they're moving in, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And for future reference, this is why we sign a holding deposit agreement and not the lease. Because in all fairness, if you guys can't get this resolved and they're like, no, we're coming, we have nowhere to go. Remember one thing, they have a copy of a signed lease. They have every right to be there. This is why we don't pre-sign leases and we use the holding deposit agreement.
So what could happen to the owner then? Could the applicant sue the owner for this or?
Potentially, yes.
Oh,
Potentially, yes. They could demand that they get to live there for a year because they have a signed, executed contract.
oh, wow. Okay.
This is why this is a great example, Bill C. I know this is a problem for you, but everybody else needs to pay attention right now. This is how easy we get ourselves in situations when we have them pre-sign the lease. That is a bad business practice. The day they sign the lease is the day you have all the money and you're giving them the key and doing the walkthrough inspection. That's the day they sign the lease. Before that, they sign a holding deposit agreement. Because that says that says that the owner can back out and return all the money and there's no more contract anymore. Or if the tenant backs out, the owner can then charge them daily rent out of that security deposit and keep that as daily rent damages and give them back the difference. If they pre-sign a lease, we can't charge them anything.
Do you have a sample of a holding agreement or?
CAA has it, AGLA
Okay.
has it. It's called the holding deposit agreement. And that is the agreement that you want signed once you have money from the tenant after their application is approved, before the lease is signed on the move-in date.
Okay.
So let's play a game. There's like 3 weeks interim in there, right? If you go 2 weeks and 5 days, and I'm just throwing out a number. Oh, I didn't know people were in the waiting room. I feel so bad. Okay, if you go 2 weeks and 5 days, and the tenant then gives you a letter saying we're not going to move in, guess what? You get to charge them rent for 2 weeks and 5 days for all that time you held the property off the market. If they pre-signed the lease and didn't sign a holding deposit agreement, how much do you get to charge them?
The full amount.
Zero.
Not a dime. You get
Oh.
nothing. Zero. Zilch. Okay?
Oh,
So it's a better business practice for you to have them sign the holding deposit agreement so that if they back out, you get to charge them daily rent for the time you held it. If they pre-sign the lease, you can't do that. You're just done. You get nothing. Okay? And if for some reason the house isn't available, like in Belsie's situation, and I'm just going to use the example of a divorce because it's a great excuse, okay? It really is. What if all of a sudden your landlord comes to you and goes, hey, I'm getting a divorce. I got to move back into my house. Don't let those people move in. I know they signed a lease. If they signed a holding deposit agreement, you just refund their money and tell them, sorry, it didn't work out. We had an emergency on our end. We'll try to find you something else. If they pre-sign the lease, you have a problem. We'll see what happens as it unfolds. Let me know. Okay, Belsie?
sure. I will let you know. Thank you,
Okay,
Patty.
no problem. Hi, Patty. My rental is owned by my trust, single family residence, San Bernardino. Am I supposed to do the rental agreement in the name of my trust, or can I use my personal name? You went over this last time, but I can't remember what you said. I'm gonna say it as nicely as I can and how it was explained to me, okay? The person that you name as the lessor, not the leasee, but the lessor, the landlord on your policy, at the very beginning, you know, when it says this is an agreement between leasee and lessor, right? Lessor is the landlord, okay? That is the person that they're going to sue. You want them suing your trust and not you individually. Got it?
Got it, Patty. Thank you.
No problem. And here comes more
Patty?
stuff. Yes.
I just want to, because I'm in the middle of this right now with attorneys and dealing with this. I just wanted to share this with everybody as well. With insurance policies, because they're canceling my policy. They're not renewing because they said of the way it's being held. Because I had added the trust as an additional insured on the policy. So it's very, very important that you guys talk to your agents and find out if it's in a trust that it's done properly, and if there are people, family members or whatever, trustees, that they're named too, because I talked to Patty about this yesterday, and like, who do you get the rent check now sent to? Do you send it to the person or do you send it to the trust? So, and how you sign the lease is very important. Patty said I signed my name and I put as trustee of the blank, blank, blank trust with the date of the trust. And so, and then I sent a change of ownership to all my tenants saying that that the trust is now the owner of, you know, or isn't in charge of the property. So it's been a real learning experience.
Anytime you change title, you must notify the tenant of a takeover letter, for lack of a better word. That's what we call it in our industry. So anytime there's a change in who they're paying or who's holding their security deposit, you need to notify them with a takeover letter.
So Patty, I didn't even think about in terms of paying rent, and I'm glad Arlene brought that up. So it's supposed to be made out to, if they're actually doing a check, it's supposed to be made to the trust name if the trust owns it, correct?
Can I say something out loud and make you guys all go, oh, we're overthinking it without saying it out loud?
Yes.
If I, ABC Property Management Company, is your landlord, do they make the checks out to your trust or ABC Management Company?
To the management company.
To the
I was gonna
management company, absolutely. So who they pay, whether it's you or the trust, doesn't matter unless your
Oh.
CPA wants it done a certain way.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Why? I got a question. Why is it when you're in triple digit temperatures, all of the animals in the house want to sleep on you when it's hot? Why? I'm just asking a question. Blue is literally on my feet snoring. I'm like, get off me, dog. It's hot. All right. What other kind of questions do we have today? Nothing? Ooh. Ooh, we got nothing. Okay, let's talk about some stuff. How concerned is everybody with the 3-day notice going to a 14-day notice to pay rent or quit? We all know that's involved in legislation right now. That's sitting up for vote. I think we passed the House of the Senate and it's now on Newsom's desk. People are like, Patty, what? Yeah, state of California, Gavin Newsom is trying to change our 3-day pay rent or quit to a 14-day pay rent or quit. We all know that that won't include weekends or holidays because that's already in statute. So if and or when that happens, our notices will be more like 23 days instead of 3 days.
Question, did you get something from CAA or AGLA? Because I haven't seen anything in a while about that. I saw it when it was like in the first body of
It
the
passed the House
legislature.
of the Assembly, it passed the House of the Senate, and it's moving through the Judicial Committee or whatever it does from there. Doesn't it go to Newsom's desk after that?
I mean, I don't know if they amended it in the second house or not. It's complicated sausage making, but potentially, yeah. No, I'm just wondering what's going on. Like,
It's
I'm
still out
usually pretty
there.
good about checking it, and I haven't gotten an update from like CAA or AGLA, and
Well,
I'm kind
you
of
better
disappointed.
check it because I checked it Monday.
Well, I mean, I'm too busy to go check it at like the legislature site. I mean, I check my email. I
Chris,
kind of
I'm
rely on
just
AGLA and CAA to tell me.
Chris, I'm just teasing you. But yeah, it's still a thing. It didn't fall through the cracks. It's going through the system. How's that?
I'm shocked. Just totally
Yes,
shocked that the
you can go
Democrats
look.
would do that.
You could go look on CAA's website. You can go look on AGLA's website. It's under what do they call it on there? Pending
Legislation or something like that?
legislative update. It's in there. So it's under
No, I know. It's just usually they like send red alerts, and there wasn't a lot at various junctions where it could have been killed. So I don't know.
Yeah. What happens with housing tenants? Still 30 days, or is it going to change as well? Hold on, Belcy. And what happens with housing? Oh, you mean the CARES Act, the 30-day notice, because you're subject to the CARES Act. I think that's what
Correct.
you're talking about.
Yes.
If you're subject to the CARES Act, that doesn't affect this. It's still going to be 30 days. This is changing a regular 3-day pay rent or quit to a 14-day pay rent or quit. But it should not change the CARES Act, meaning Section 8 or federally funded programs. It shouldn't change that at all. This is amending a regular 3-day pay rent or quit to a 14-day notice. And I checked it out on CAA's website because that's who I was stumbling across on Monday when I found it. Breathe, Blue, breathe. I think my dog needs a CPAP machine. She does weird things. Don't ask. I don't know. Are you okay? Are you okay? Does your dog look at you like this, like you're crazy? Look, are you okay? Oh, your butt's moving. You're wagging your tail, I think. Now she's gonna come get in my lap. Watch. All right, so we're gonna watch that assembly bill for the 3-day notice turning to a 14-day notice, but I had a question about that. Is anybody freaked out about that if it happens? I get that it could happen, but I guess what I'm trying to say is the likelihood of it passing, in my opinion, is probably high. And it's gonna suck because that 14 days is not gonna count weekends or holidays, and it's gonna end up being more like a 20-day notice. 2 weekends, 1 weekend, 2 weekends, a holiday. Yeah, it could be a 20-day notice easy. It would be 2, 4, 5 days in there. On a 14, it would be a 19-day notice. So I'm close at 20 days. Sorry, I know my brain works in weird ways. It's not as bad as the 30-day notice, not counting weekends and holidays that Belsey was speaking of, subject to the CARES Act. Anything that has federal funds touching it, whether be on the owner's side with the loan or the tenant side with Section 8 bash, something like that. Anything that touches federal money is subject to the Federal CARES Act. CARES, CARES Act.
So can I ask what do you think the practical consequence is other than delaying eviction? And I guess tenants will feel like they can pay rent really late and cure before they would get that notice?
You're playing along.
Okay.
Anything that's federal funded is subject to the federal's rules is how they're looking at it. So they made it fall under the CARES Act.
No, I'm talking about the changing the 3-day notice to 14-day notice.
It's
Like, I
irrelevant.
get,
It's irrelevant in this matter. They're talking about taking a standard 3-day and changing that to a 14-day.
right. I'm just saying, but what is that, like thinking it through, what is the practical consequences? They have a lot more time to cure, to like pay the rent so they can get away with paying rent late
Not be
without,
evicted. That's all that it is. It gives them more time.
and so then also if they are going to be excuse the expression, deadbeats, then it just delays that much longer the whole eviction process, right? Because they hate mom and pop landlords, basically.
Now you can't file on day 4. You got to file on day 15.
Right. Okay. But it's not really day 15. It's more like day 20 something because of
Day
weekends
19.
and holidays. Yeah.
No, I counted in my head. The worst it could be is day 19.
Oh,
So-
but even with a holiday?
Even with a holiday, there's 2 weekends and a 14-day notice, add 1 holiday. I guess if there was 2 holidays on both things, you would be at
Which
20
I don't
days.
think, yeah, okay.
But I don't know of a month that has 2 consecutive weekend
Right,
holidays in
right.
it.
So it's
I'm
either,
just thinking about
so it's either an 18 or 19-day notice.
bingo.
Your calendar day notice is what it turns into.
Bingo.
Wow.
Not counting weekends and holidays. It's disgusting. So yes, it's
Right.
if
So
this
that's what it turns into.
passes-
Calendar.
If this passes, our 3-day notice to pay rent or quit is going to go to a 20-day notice. Because our 3-day now doesn't count weekends and holidays either. So
Wait
our
till-
3-day could be a 5-day, right?
Wait till they outlaw any late fees, right?
Oh, it's coming. It's a matter of when.
So then tenants will be free to be late by 20 days, almost 20 days. Wow. It might be time to exit.
No, I got a feeling that we need a new sheriff in town. And anybody that understands what I just said, laugh with me. We need a new sheriff in town. So in property management, we used to say sometimes the landlord just can't communicate with the tenant anymore. That the relationship is so damaged that they need a new sheriff to talk to them, to say to them, hey, you got to pay your rent on time or you could be evicted. So we will tell the landlord, you need to hire a property management company to come in as a new sheriff in town and whip things into shape, right? New sheriff in town. Isn't that who's running for governor? A new sheriff? Sorry.
Yeah, but governor's not enough. The governor can't just change by fiat. We need to take over the legislature.
I know. And there's so much controversy going on with what the government's doing right now. And I get it. I get it. I don't even want to go talk about it because some of it is really sad and very depressing. But at the end of the day, we still have to pay our mortgage. So for now, we're along for the ride, right? We're going to absorb what's being thrown and hopefully there's a change in the near future. But I heard what you said, Chris, but I can't say that. I can't. He can, I can't.
I don't know
All
how much worse can it get? You know, I mean, we're about as close to about as it could be compared to other states. If you own property in say Idaho or I think somebody else owns in New Mexico, you understand what I'm talking about.
Yep. We all get it. California is so corrupt with bureaucracy and bullshit. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it is quite challenging.
Yeah, because you can get a lockout in 14 days in New Mexico now. And I'm just working on a lease and it's like a few pages.
In Texas, it's 4 days to a lockout.
Yeah.
You serve a 3-day notice, and if they don't pay or move out in 3 days, you call the sheriff. The sheriff comes out there and kicks them out of your house right then and there and gives them a court date to show up to court to testify on how they left their house that they just kicked them out of. Yeah. I will say this, though. If you understand the rules in California, okay, and you can comply with all the municipalities, the bureaucracy, the bullshit, the fair housing protected classes, and you go somewhere else, you will thrive on going somewhere else because you will have learned so much from doing business in California that you will be shocked at how things go other places. Tony, the property is under rent control DCBA. When making a written request for proof of renter's insurance, how much time do you give in the letter for the renter? This is a cure or quit. So this isn't a letter. This is a curable breach of covenant. Cure or quit notice. Tell me when you know what I'm talking about, Tony. Okay. So it's a 3-day curable breach of covenant. And I'd have to look up and see if the DCBA requires 10 days for a cure or quit. I'd have to look. One of the municipalities requires more time on a cure or quit. And for the life of me, I don't know who it is. So I'd have to look it up under DCBA's rules and regulations regarding a cure or quit notice. 3 things need to be on a cure or quit notice, and they are called 2 different things, okay? Let me help. Property management slang is cure or quit, okay? Legal term is 3-day curable breach of covenant notice. They are one and the same, okay? It's like disposition of security deposit versus dispo. Same thing, okay? It's just in property management, we use slang, okay? We use slang. So it's a cure or quit notice. So 3 things have to be on a curable breach of covenant notice. Number 1, you have to have the paragraph of the lease that they are in violation of. The whole paragraph, word for word, okay? Number 2 is how they breached that, what they did wrong. You don't have renter's insurance policy. You need to have it within 3 days. Number 3 is how they fix it. You need to have renter's insurance within the 3-day time period. That's how they fix it. So 3 things on a curable. What they did wrong per the lease, word for word, how the lease is written. Number 2, what they did wrong with dates, times, and witnesses. Number 3, how they corrected. Those 3 things have to be on a cure or quit notice to make it valid. Does anyone own in Idaho? I've got my eyes on that state. Chris does. I am waiting on my sheriff lockout for my property in city of LA. It's going on 6 months and I'm told that's quick for LA. 6 months? Holly, your writ of possession is gonna expire on the 6th month. I'd call the sheriff's department directly and I'd let them know that the writ of possession is scheduled to expire on blank date and find out when the writ was issued. It expires 6 months later, okay?
I'm sorry, Patty, I miswrote.
Hey, I'm verbal vomiting,
Okay.
Jody. So start
Miswrote
on
that.
a verbal vomit real quick, okay?
Yep,
You need to contact the court. Find out when the writ of possession was issued.
writ of possession was issued in May. I'm sorry, I miswrote it. I misrepresented, I guess, what I meant. We
You're
got
going on 6 weeks, not 6 months.
June 6th, we got our, they posted on the tenant's door, what is that? The notice to vacate.
Okay,
Now we're just waiting for the lockout. So I think
okay.
fine in the timeline. I meant the 6 months I meant was when we first you know.
Yeah, because LA's taken about 6 weeks, but hang on, let me explain why they're taking a little longer than 6 weeks right now, okay?
Yep,
You know all those stupid protests in LA?
yep,
And I say stupid because they took time, resources,
yes,
all of the sheriffs doing lockouts were pulled off of lockout duty and sent to go deal with that.
yep,
So everything halted from when that started to when that ends, and then they'll pick it back up again. So my
Yep.
guess is that added a week, maybe 2 to your lockout time.
yep.
And there's a website you can follow online,
Okay,
okay? And go look it up yourself because you can watch it daily and you'll know quicker than your legal counsel does.
oh, please.
Okay. What you do is you can log on to the sheriff's website for all of LA County, and everybody should be paying attention to what I'm saying right now. You can log on to LA County's website and I'll get all the details for you guys and I'll give it to you next week, where you can go look up and see where the lockout process is.
Okay,
Okay. And it will not give you an exact date as to the restitution of the premises because they don't want that posted on a website.
right.
Let me ask you a question. Has the tenant vacated?
No, and I wanted to ask you about that. My husband and I were mom and pops. We handled the property management ourselves. I mean, I was told by our legal counsel 100%, do not talk with the tenant.
Absolutely. Don't talk to the tenant because you don't want to cause any problems.
Right.
But do you know if they're still there? Have you driven by?
Yeah, we drive by almost daily. And I mean, I don't know if the tenant has a new car. I have no idea. He is a very sketchy person. So we're just keeping an eye on it to see if any changes. I was told don't even talk to a neighbor, you know.
They're trying to have you err on the side of caution.
Yes,
I'm going to assume your legal counsel is Mike Brennan's office.
yes.
God damn, I'm good. He doesn't want you to interfere in any way because he doesn't want anything to be used against you.
Yeah, no, and to this point, I mean, I'm happy to drive. I'm not happy, but I'm driving every day.
And some legal counsel will tell you to go up and knock on the door. And when they open the door, go, oh, you're still here. I had no idea. Have a great day. Bye.
Yeah.
But you don't do that because your legal counsel told you not to. Okay.
I'm just afraid the tenant's gonna leave the door open, and then I get a squatter.
Can I? Okay. Take a deep breath with me, Holly. Okay. Take a deep breath with me. Did they include, hold on, and I have to rewind my brain, and Chris is laughing at me right now because he knows the words I'm using. Did they also include all unknown occupants in your eviction?
Not sure.
Find that out from Brennan's office if they included all unknowns, if they did a prejudgment claim. Got it?
Okay.
If they did a prejudgment claim, and they have done it properly, it would evict the squatters at the lockout.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And that's if a prejudgment claim was filed with your case.
Right. Okay. I'll find that out.
Okay?
Got it.
And between you, me, and the wall and everybody else in this class right now, I want a prejudgment claim on everything I file.
Right.
Every time. Even when the tenant says, or the client, and mind you, I worked in an eviction law firm for a while. So sometimes the client will say, Patty, I don't need a prejudgment claim. I don't want to offer the extra 5 days to file the answer. I don't want to offer the extra 5 days. It's just them that lives there. Nobody else is there. It's just them. 9 times out of 10, somebody else moves in. And now that owner is in a bad position because they have to start over with an eviction against the other person.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, right. So I always include a prejudgment claim, even if it's just one person and it's a family member, they wouldn't do that. I don't care. I put a prejudgment claim on every case I do because I don't know how many times the tenant has moved out and moved somebody else in to the property so they could get the first month's rent and security deposit so they could leave.
Right.
So I always ask for a prejudgment claim. And for anybody listening in here, I strongly suggest and highly recommend that you do the same. It's the best way to protect your own asset.
Right. Right. By the way, just for everyone's enjoyment, our tenant has sent our attorney so many ridiculous proposals, and we've just said no every time.
You have a judgment. You don't have to deal with a proposal.
Yep.
And the second you do, the eviction goes away, and now you're in a new agreement with the tenant.
Yep. Don't want that.
So let me give you guys a great example, okay? An owner calls me at the law firm one day and he says, hey, Patty, we're here at the sheriff's lockout. It was on Monday. And as you know, we had that huge thunderstorm and I felt so bad for the tenant. I told her that she didn't have to move out during the thunderstorm after the sheriff got there. So the sheriff got there, sheriff went to lock her out. And then she was like, it's raining. I have no place to go. Can you at least wait until it stops raining? And the owner said, yes. Anybody know what that did? That created a new tenancy and they need to start a new eviction now.
I'm not doing that. I don't care if it's a 7.5 earthquake, God forbid. Get out.
Just talking to you out loud so everybody else learns something. Because this is all stuff people may not know. I didn't know that I couldn't tell her don't move out in the rain. You can stay here one more day. No, you just created a new tenancy when the sheriff ended it. And now you got to start a new eviction.
Yep. Nope. I hired a security guard to be with us too.
Good girl. Good girl. And if anybody ever needs that service, please know that I have somebody that I can recommend to you that can help you out with that. Because sometimes you do want security there. You don't want to be there. You want them there with a video camera recording everything. Because you know that if you're on premises, it could create an emotional disturbance, for lack of a better way to explain it. Chris owns in Idaho. I'll tell you what state I've been looking at, but you guys all laugh at me. I want Alaska. You know why? Because the human to wildlife ratio is much different than anywhere else. I don't want to be that close to Russia, I promise. I'm being funny. I mean, Alaska's great. They got fishing, they got hiking. I mean, they got ocean life, lots of sea life. Killer whales, halibut. Great place, right? Put me out in the sticks, less humans, I'm all for it. I'm just kidding. When you've dealt with tenants for as many years as I have, You kind of don't want to do that anymore. I'm just kidding. Of course, I want to deal with my tenants. Anybody have anything else?
Patty?
Yes.
Can you use the photos, your final photos for the move out after everything's cleaned and done and everything? Be the same photos, obviously, as the move in? Or do you have to retake them on the day they move in? Like if
I understand what you're saying.
and if there's
You're
a few
moving.
days between.
Hold on. Your move-in photos you could pull out of your advertisement. Potentially. Wink, wink. I mean, if you have the house cleaned, you have it prepped, and you advertise it that way, and it still looks that way when you move the people in, why not use those photos?
Well, things have maybe changed from those original photos to this most.
Well, and you want to date stamp them. So
Yeah, that
I
I
would
know.
take new move-in photos because of the date stamp requirement. Patty, what is the best way to track a resident manager's time other than using AGLA's form? You could use CAA's form. You could use a timesheet. You could use just a timesheet. CAA has a hours worked timesheet. I'm trying to picture it in my head, but yeah, CAA has one too. It's just basically it's a time card, for lack of a better way to describe it. Belsey, in Riverside, a tenant who has lived in the property for 3 years recently had a friend move in after the tenant's children moved out. The owner now wants to create a sublease agreement with this new occupant and charge an additional $450 per month. The primary tenant is paying $19.50 and the last rent increase occurred in March. There is an active lease in place. I'm informed the owner that this arrangement is not legally permissible. Am I right? Kind of. Let me ask you a different question. What does it say about additional occupants? And look at it this way. In my opinion, the tenant moved in a roommate and now has an unauthorized occupant because I haven't collected rent from that roommate. Ah, see, so if I didn't collect rent from that roommate, they're not my tenant, and I could serve them a cure or quit for the unauthorized occupants.
Okay. So, or, okay, requesting to
Or
the,
you could negotiate a new contract for a higher rent amount if that's what they choose to do. But
Got it.
first, I'd call them out on the fact that they have an unauthorized occupant, and technically they could be in violation. And see how I use the word could? It could be a violation of their written rental contract. It could be a material breach of their rental contract. Okay?
okay, got it.
So that's how I would approach it. Here's a 3-day cure or quit because you're in violation of your written contract by having an unauthorized occupant. I can talk to the owner and see if we could start a new lease with both of you on it, but I'm sure it would be for a different rent amount. What would you like to do, tenant? Are you going to move them out or did you want to renegotiate?
Okay, actually, the primary tenant doesn't want this friend to be in the contract. He says that because I actually
Then
proposed.
he needs to move them off of the premises because
Okay.
he's in violation of his written contract.
Okay, if the owner approves the new lease agreement with a new rent rate, can I name this new occupant as an additional occupant?
It's a new term that way, Belsey, and that's what you want.
Okay.
Okay. So basically it would be a whole new lease contract.
Can I say something here?
Yes.
You know, I got stuck in something like that she mentioned. It was about last year, and I negotiated a new payment, and even I wrote a new lease, and then I got stuck in it because they said it doesn't matter, you are not allowed to increase the rent at more than such a percentage. And they forced me to go back and give back all the extra money that we collected for that additional tenant and rewrite the whole thing back to where it was, like she never
Okay,
had anybody
okay.
come.
Okay, I'm with you, and the attorney is also telling me that they would recommend having the tenant sign a release and end that old lease and then start the whole new lease. So a general release and a new lease would be most ideal, so it's not looked at as an illegal rent increase.
And also she's got to check out the person and see whether they would qualify to be there.
Exactly. And Chris is saying it's still a bit risky. So he
Believe me,
doesn't.
I dearly paid for it. You know,
I understand. I am with you, and the attorney's agreeing with you, sir, that
Yeah.
we may not be able to charge that $450 rent increase. The rent was just increased in March.
yeah, even though we wrote a new lease and they all agreed, I had to pay everything back.
So it is a risk, and the attorney doesn't like it either. He's with David. So you have to decide
Oh.
what works best for you.
Okay,
Okay,
got
Belsi?
it. Thank you, everybody.
No problem. I'm so glad we have a team of people we can bounce things off of, because it does depend on where you're at. And she's in Riverside, not in LA, so maybe a little bit different, maybe not too much. Are you subject to AB 1482? Are you exempt from it? You know, there's a lot of other factors that come into play here.
But I was in San Bernardino. This happened in San Bernardino.
I understand. I got you. So we got to be careful now how we do things. I like have them sign a release, do a disposition, and then enter a whole new contract.
Okay, all right,
That might
thank
be
you.
a little bit of a better way to handle it. Anybody else?
Hi, Patty. I have a question. It's something probably not a good question. Anyway, I have a tenant that I had problems in the past, but now he's being cooperative. And during the inspection, he was when somebody came to fix my wall furnace. He was very patient and he allowed and he was there. By law, is it legal if I can, like, I mentioned something about giving him like a gift card from one of the grocery stores that he goes to. Is it legal for me to give him like a $50 gift card, or is this dog call like I don't want to start anything, or
Okay,
it's
hold
just
on,
something
hold
nice?
on, hold on, and slow down. What was the reason again?
He was very nice. The person, the service guy that came to fix the furnace.
Okay, wait a minute,
Took a
wait a
little
minute.
longer.
That's where you have my attention. The furnace was broken. How many days was the furnace broken?
Well, it was just a pilot, and it didn't pass inspection, and it was the heater. He wasn't using it. It was when it was terribly hot, and so he wasn't using the furnace. But it was just that the person that came said that it was gonna take maybe 2 to 3 hours. It took a little longer, and so I was just thinking. I mentioned to him, for being patient.
Hold on. My head went down a different hole, and I'll explain. If the heater wasn't working, even though it's 109 degrees outside, that's a habitability issue in the state of California, and no rent is owed from the time it's reported to the time it's corrected. Okay? So if it was fixed in the same day, he doesn't get a rent credit. If it took 2 days to fix it, he gets 2 days of a rent credit. Okay? If it was fixed the same day and you just want to give him a gift card for an inconvenience, I'd give him a gift card for like $20 to Bonds or whatever for the inconvenience. But be careful, it's not a rent credit that you need to give him.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, okay.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yes.
Because the court's going to go, wait a minute, you got to give him a full rent credit. You can't give him a $20 grocery gift card when you owed him $400 in rent.
Now, if he pays, let's say he pays 200 for rent a month because it's a Section 8 tenant. Do I credit him out of those 200, or it has to be out of the full amount of rent, even though Section 8
The
pays?
full amount.
Okay.
I use $1,000 a month as rent as an example because I know the daily per diem by heart. It's $33.33 a day. If the
Okay.
rent's $2,000 a month, it's $66.66 per day. If the
Okay.
rent's $3,000 a month, it's 90. You see how I'm just adding the $33 each time? Because on $1,000, that's how much it is. $33.33. So
Okay.
so it would be on the full amount of the rent, not on the tenant's portion.
And how would I word that? Do I put for your inconvenience, or?
Well, it depends. Is it a habitability issue? Because then it's not an inconvenience, it's a rent credit.
I see. Okay, I'll have to take a look to see when he notified me, and then when they came to look at the heater.
Perfect, perfect. And use that as your basis because that's how the court's gonna look at it.
So even if he wasn't using the heater because he was hot and he said, I'm not using it, it doesn't matter, I'm not gonna use it.
It's still a habitability issue and he doesn't owe the rent.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
No problem. No problem. Even if it's 109 degrees outside, it doesn't matter. He doesn't owe the rent. Look at it this way. What if it was the roof? I don't need the roof. It's not raining. Same concept, okay? Hi, Melanie. Okay, hold on. Melanie's got a question. Hang on, let me find it. Larso, tenant's HVAC went out and we sent several texts several times and it took over 20 days to repair. Tenant is asking for rent credit even though the temperatures were in the low 70s and it's not a habitability issue. What would you do? It's not a habitability issue until 31 days later. So I would let them know that at this time, HVAC is not a habitability issue in the city of Los Angeles. But you better make sure it's not a habitability issue because in some cities it is a habitability issue. How you find that out is by calling code enforcement and asking them in that city. Patty, what are you talking about? City of Lancaster. Air conditioning is a habitability issue. City of Barstow, city of Yucaipa. Paying attention? Some cities make AC a habitability issue. Barstow, Needles, Lancaster. And those are just the cities I know of. There could be more. Palm Springs. Okay, I know they have. Air conditioning is a habitability issue. They're not saying you have to have an air conditioning unit, but they're saying if you do have one and it goes out, the tenant doesn't owe rent until it's fixed. So you need to find out from the municipality that governs you, AKA the city, by calling code enforcement and asking them if air conditioning is a habitability issue in that city. If they say yes, then they don't owe rent until it's fixed. So you'd have to call City of LA and ask them if air conditioning is a habitability issue. And Arlene may answer that for us because she knows a lot about Larso. But if she doesn't know, she won't answer, trust me. Can you use the final move out photos when the place is cleaned as the same pictures of a date stamp? Remember? Date stamp, it says something about the provision in the law about date stamped on the photos. Because it says date stamped on the photos, I'm going to tell you they have to be date stamped on the move-in day. And remember, there's no case law regarding this new law. So You could ask your attorney, hey, would this be okay? Would you argue this in court? Because that's what it comes down to, is what your attorney's willing to argue and what they're not.
Patty, on the same topic, I wasn't overthinking it at first, but now I'm starting to overthink it, and maybe there's no case law, so it can't be answered. So if it sits vacant for 2 months, but obviously, you know, you got it cleaned, and then you did your marketing photos,
And then it
nothing's
sat there
changed.
vacant for 2 months.
Yeah,
Did it get
nothing's changed.
Hold on, did it get dusty in 2 months?
I mean,
Did cockroaches move in 2 months?
no cockroaches, you know, but
It's
I
all
mean,
going to depend on what your attorney is willing to argue. Why I
Okay.
keep saying that is because there is verbiage in the statute that clearly states date stamped. Remember? Because all of us were going, how do we date stamp photos? We haven't done that in decades. You know how you used to take your Canon cyber shot and it had the date right there on the photo? And you can make that print on the little photos. How do we do that? Because we don't do that anymore. We all use our iPhones and our Androids, right? Hey, they take really good photos. So how are we date stamping those? That actually can be done through the app in your phone. It has date stamps in your phone, okay?
Does it, what does it say? Dates for, does it say move in or move in day or the start
says
place?
Move-in photos need to be date stamped. It says your move-out photos need to be date stamped and your repair photos need to be date stamped. So because they're talking about a date stamp, I want you to do them on the move-in day.
So what if the lease starts on the 1st and they don't move in till the 5th?
When did you give them the keys and do the walkthrough?
The 5th. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
No problem. That's the day I would want. And I'm just talking, look at it this way. I'm acting as your regional manager, telling you how to do your job, because I think that that would be the best way for an attorney to argue it in court. Okay? If the attorney has to argue it in court, I want to give them all the ammunition that I can give them. And if they're date stamped on the move-in day, hey, we're good. If we're now playing around with the date stamp from advertisement, you need to talk to the attorney to see what they're willing to argue. Remember, this is a new law. There's no case law yet. So it's up to them how they want to present it to a judge and how that's going to be argued. That's over my pay grade. It's my job to help you collect all your ducks and have them in a row so the attorney can decide which ones they want to take into battle and which ones they're going to leave on the sideline. But because the provision of the law says date stamp, I'm going to tell you to take your photos on move-in day. Because of that provision. And your attorney may tell you something totally different, but that's what they're willing to argue. And I want to err on the side of caution so that all your ducks are lined up the way that they're supposed to be, and let your attorney pick and choose. Here. When you get into the gray area, Patti isn't going to advise you. How's that? I don't like gray areas. Anybody have anything else? Because believe it or not, I got to go prepare and serve a 30-day notice to GTFO for somebody today. I had a window AC go out. Hang out. And I gave rent credit. Okay, there you go. She had a window AC go out and she gave a rent credit. I mean, look at it this way. If it took you 20 days to fix it and it's not a habitability issue, and I'm just talking out loud, okay? Then I may want to offer an inconvenience credit to the tenant for their inconvenience. See how I called it an inconvenience and not a rent credit? Okay. To me, a rent credit would be daily per diem. $33.33 a day if their rent is $1,000. But an inconvenience fee could be, sorry about the inconvenience, here's $50 for the time your AC didn't work. Inconvenience fee. Inconvenience credit. Okay, it's not per diem, it's whatever you decide to credit them. Let's say their dishwasher didn't work for 15 days. Dishwasher is not a habitability issue, it's an amenity. So I may offer them $100 off of next month's rent as an inconvenience. Got it? There's a difference between an inconvenience and per diem. Habitability issue is required for you to give them the full rent per day. But an inconvenience isn't. An inconvenience is a nice way for you to say, sorry, it didn't work for 20 days and you had to wash your own dishes. Here's $100. Sorry, it's an inconvenience. It's not a requirement. I gave somebody a $950 rent credit once for not having air conditioning as an inconvenience. And then the following month, she demanded that I give it to her again. No, it was an inconvenience.
Patty, on that same topic, what is it? The swamp cooler. We had a swamp cooler in San Bernardino, and the
That's what
roofer.
I'm sitting underneath right now. And let me tell you, it ain't enough.
Yeah. But the roof needed to get replaced, and the roofer did not recommend putting the swamp cooler back on it because it could leak. So we took it off. Obviously I rented it with the swamp cooler, but I let them know we're taking it off. And she informed me that they don't use it. They installed like their own like window ones, which I was fine with. But I mean, would that cause any, I don't know. I mean, we mutually agreed on that. Was that supposed to be something in writing so that way it can't come back to me in terms of, her saying?
You mutually agreed. In
and
most areas, let me say this, okay? It is a good business practice when you do a reduction of services that you give a reduction of rent.
Even if she's below market?
Stop. I'll say it again. It is a good business practice when you have to do a reduction in services to do a reduction in rent.
Okay, so if I didn't do that, then how am I supposed to backtrack on the
Who's
couple
to
years?
say that you didn't give them an $8 to $10 credit on their rent every month from when that happened?
I don't get it. What do you mean?
Their socials out of their security at the end.
Bingo. So look, you can always you can choose your path carefully sometimes. So in the event something were to arouse or be something were to come about in regards to this, I would automatically say, but I gave them an $8 rent credit off their rent every month. I credited in their security deposit.
Okay, got it.
$8, inconvenience, $8, reduction in services. Doesn't mean $500 rent credit, folks.
Well,
Okay?
when you said 900, didn't you say like 900 and some? I'm like, ooh, that's, yeah, I don't know.
That was me doing something else, and that was what I offered as an inconvenience.
Gotcha. But so then AC is still inconvenience, not habitability as of now.
For now.
Yeah.
LA may become habitability. But I sent you.
Tell you when it's going to become a habitability is in 2028, folks, because that's when the law changes and they can make those changes. But they can't until 2028. That's when it will most likely become a habitability issue.
I thought LA City could anytime they want. I thought they were discussing it.
I believe not yet. They can't. Not yet. Not until 2028. It has to do, and forgive me for not recalling every detail, but this is the best way that my little blonde brain can explain it to you, okay? When they enact a law and it's in place, it can have a sunset clause, meaning in 10 years at the end of the sunset period, they can either keep it as law or kick it out, okay? Sometimes that happens. Well, in building and safety laws, they have like their provisions of this is the law and this is the way this is for 10 years, and they can't change it until that expiration. That expiration happens in 2028. That's the easiest way I could explain it to
But I
you.
thought habitability was in the civil code, like, isn't it?
Habitability is in a civil code, but there's something in building and safety where there can add things in as being a requirement. And when I went down the rabbit hole and did all the research, they can't change that law until 2028. So that's most likely when the requirement of everybody having to provide AC in LA County is most likely going to happen in 2028.
Well, it sounds like
But
it's
we don't know
coming
if it's
then for
AC.
sure, but it could come sooner also is what it sounds like to me. It's for
Well-
sure coming in 28, I would say, or it's very, very likely to come in 28, but it could easily come sooner is my
Yeah.
interpretation of what you
It
just
could
said.
come sooner, but it's most likely going to happen in 2028, in my opinion. How's that?
We don't know whether it's going to be AC. It may be like blackout curtains. It may be swamp coolers. It may be ceiling fans. It may be
It's gonna be
it's like
something.
70. It can't be higher than 72 degrees in the house. And I mean, they're doing all that stuff.
Something is going
Right,
to
right. I
happen.
forgot that's what they've been doing. They've been saying like it has to be a temperature. So yeah, I
Right.
guess theoretically you could accomplish that in a
different way.
multitude.
AC.
Right, right.
So I got a feeling that in 2028, and this is just Patty's little crystal ball, okay? Patty's crystal ball thinks that in 2028, there will be a new law regulating something for cooling rental properties in LA County. That's my crystal ball. And mind you, it's broken, but hey, that's just how I see it. As I think in 2028, we will then be regulated to provide air conditioning and rental units in LA County. And that is my opinion. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I just think that that's most likely going to happen in the near future.
But the talk, Patty, the talk is only for LA County, not IE.
I got a feeling that it's going to be either LA County or it's going to be more the counties involved. And I would say that it's going to be counties that have cities. Because in my opinion, and just hear me out, okay? Look at Palm Springs. Anywhere that gets over 105 degrees needs air conditioning. And in my personal opinion, if it gets over 90, I want AC because this girl melts, okay? I'm just saying. And some tenants will never be happy with the level of coolness in a property because it's within their own body, they can't keep cool. What I'm talking about is menopause with women. Okay, if you ever worked in an office with women between the ages of 35 and 50, they want to freeze their butts off all day because they can't regulate their own body temperature. I know, I'm one of them, okay? I speak from experience. I've been on stage talking, Arlene remembers, and I just look at the crowd and I'm melting. My hair's now stuck to my head, full on sweats, and I'm like, dying. It's just me. It's not the whole room. Okay. And it is so hard when you have a menopausal woman in a property and she's complaining she's overheating. Hell yes, she's overheating, but she's melting from her spinal cord outwards. Okay. It is not the air temperature that has anything to do with it. Yeah. I speak from experience. But it is so frustrating when you're chasing that because we can't keep ourselves cool, but we're going to bitch and complain at you because you're not keeping our unit cool, but it is just fine. It's a her problem, and it's very hard to address that because it is a medical condition. No joke. It's a temporary medical condition. They say it only lasts up to 7 years. Okay. It sucks. For those men that are trying to understand what I'm talking about, let me explain it to you like this. You could be sitting there having dinner, talking to somebody on stage in the middle of a crowd, and all of a sudden from the small of your back, you feel this rush of heat come up into your armpits and then consume your entire body, like when you have a fever and you're sick and your fever goes to 103 and you're like, oh, that's what it feels like. You're melting like 103, 105 fever, and it hits you like a ton of bricks. Like all of a sudden it just starts in your back, and in a matter of 3 seconds, it's in your armpits, it's in your face, it's in your forehead, it's everywhere. And it just feels, and you're breaking out in a sweat, just like when you have a fever. Okay. And you know how you feel yucky when you have a fever? Yeah. And it just shuts you down and you're like, ugh. It happens like that at any given time. Even when you're on stage talking to a whole group of people, it's horrible. It's shut me down so badly, it's made me vomit multiple times. It's just overheated, and there is nothing you can do to pull yourself down. Ice on the back of the neck, bare feet on a concrete floor. I've tried it all. Cooling yourself off as quickly as possible is what helps. And when the only way you think you can do that is through the air conditioner, it's not enough. You want to get in the freezer and shut the door behind you. Okay? I know, because I've done it before. I'm small enough that I can get and take out the bottom shelf of my freezer, and I can sit in the bottom of my freezer. Bye, guys. Bye, Belsie. Have a great day. And I'm so jealous of your vacation. It was beautiful. Okay, so we all understand about midlife crisis with women and hot flashes, and that's why most offices with women in that age are kept really cold for that reason. Bye, Elsie. But yeah, chasing that demon is a demon in itself, and I'm just telling you because I've experienced it. It's freaking horrible. But from a landlord's perspective, when you're running around going, it's cooling, just not to your liking, that's a whole nother battle. Remember, 3 to 7 years that can last. All right, anybody else have anything? I know I've kept you guys over the hour and I feel bad. Chelsea says, keep fishing big. I like to fish. It's how I reground myself and keep myself normally functioning. Good luck, Holly. And do me a favor. Let me know when your lockout happens so we can all do the happy dance with you, okay? We all want a happy dance.
I cannot wait to happy dance.
Thank you, Patty. Thanks so
No
much.
problem. You guys have a great week. I'm going to get my grandson tomorrow, and I'm going to be having some fun with him for the next week. So I don't know where we're going to be next Wednesday with Widget, but we're going to be live from somewhere other than my living room, okay?
Patty, text me and let me know when we can talk, okay?
Call me anytime you want. I'm free after this.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye, everybody. Have a great week. If you need me, if you need me, you know how to find me. Thank you, everybody. I love you so much. Have a great day. Bye.